So here we go, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and I don't have a Spider-Man shirt to wear for the review. I've ordered one. Fortunately, I didn't get here in time. But I have this. I remember these shirts. Back in grade school, it seemed like everyone had them. In kindergarten to like grade 3. Just a button-up superhero shirt. Memories. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 stars Andrew Garfield, Emma Stone, Jamie Foxx, and Dane DeHaan, and it is a sequel to the very lackluster The Amazing Spider-Man. In my review, I was trying to be as positive as I could because I did enjoy the movie enough, but at the same time, looking back, the movie only gets worse. It's just, the marketing for the movie sets it up for the most part. It's just this untold story of Spider-Man's origin. What happened? What's this whole thing with his parents? And you find out pretty much nothing. And they just like, next time you'll know, but this time who cares? Here's a stupid lizard guy, he's got a horrible plot, it's just all awful with the lizard, but enjoy it, right? And no, we don't. The Spider-Man stuff, I mean, even the music, the acting as Peter Parker even I was a little let down, because he's not really the science dork that I want Peter Parker to be. He's kind of, like, he's smart, but he's more of a loner, introverted skater punk, rather than a real geek, and that's kind of a problem. But Marc Webb directed the movie good, and Andrew Garfield and Emma Stone are really good together. Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man had a lot of promise to him, so hopefully this movie would pick up and make a good movie. Marc Webb returns to direct this one, and he's kind of settling in and doing a lot better in this movie than he did the first one. The action all looks really fantastic. There's one small part where it's kind of shaky cam, and even in the same scene, it starts out and within a minute it gets fixed into normal direction. It's like, okay, good. So whatever reason it was shaky cam for a second, it's gone. It's all really well directed. You got some, what would you call it? It's not really bullet time. It's like bullet time, the Spider-Man version, web time, where it's just like, and you see the web shooting out or stuff like that. Real quick moments of slow motion. It's cool. And the thing he was really good at, the relationship between Emma Stone and Andrew Garfield, Peter Parker, Gwen Stacy, they're really good in this movie too. They're just as good, if not better. And Andrew Garfield is a much better Spider-Man. This movie gives me the definitive Spider-Man that I've wanted, because I love Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man. He's fantastic in all three. Yes, even Emo Peter. Half the movie he's regular Spider-Man does really well, so come on, give him that. But he was always a little bit lacking in the humor and one-liners that Spider-Man is known for. I mean, aside from Deadpool, Spider-Man's kind of like the funniest superhero out there with all his one-liners and his wit. And Andrew Garfield captured that in this movie. Just in the first scene alone, the first time you get a whole Spider-Man action sequence, it's like the ultimate Spider-Man scene where they get everything right. The humor, the only thing that was off was the villain in that scene, like the bad guy. Ooh, and that's something. Paul Giamatti's in this movie. Worst acting of his career. I'm counting High School Drama too. This was bad, the direction, everything was off about his character. He's basically a Russian criminal, and he's got this thick Russian accent screaming at the top of his lungs. Couldn't understand a word of it, and what I did understand, they were bad lines. Okay, there's a couple times in this movie there's some awful dialogue, but for the most part it's still really good. But yeah, aside from Paul Giamatti, that's the one big part where it's just like garbage, cut it out, and I kind of wish they did. But everything else about that scene is perfect. The action is fantastic. There's a part where it's like they got a GoPro with Spider-Man, first person point of view basically. And in the first movie they did that, but it seemed overly CGI and fake. In this one, it's very believable and I loved it. Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, just as good as Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. Just like, this is fantastic. And compared to like Bryce Dallas Howard and Spider-Man 3, no contest here. But she's really good. I love Emma Stone. She's fantastic in this movie. Jamie Foxx as Max Dillon and Electro. You know, as Max Dillon, he's pretty sympathetic. He reminded me of Jim Carrey's Riddler from Batman Forever. Something that's pretty much everyone's saying at this point. I thought I was alone. When I first saw it, I was like, this is right out of Batman Forever. Maybe it's because I'm a Batman fanboy. It's only been 5 seconds and I already feel that. But I've looked at a couple of reviews now and everyone's like, yeah, Jim Carrey's Riddler, so that's something. Maybe they were going for it. I don't know, would you really want to go for that in a movie? You want to go for a Schumacher Batman type feel in your movie? I don't know who would say that. I guess Marc Webb did. But Jamie Foxx, he is sympathetic, and when he becomes Electro, for a little while I was kind of going with it, but then by the end he gets very uninteresting and I just didn't care about Electro anymore. I was like, get rid of him, I'm done. And that's kind of the problem with this movie, is the villains, when they're setting them up, fantastic. Once they become a villain, it just goes flat. It falls flat. Electro, for the most part, was good. And I mean, Dane DeHaan also, he's the one out of all of them that I'd say stays consistently good and never becomes that boring. And like, when he becomes a villain, sure, it drops down, but I was still interested enough. And Dane DeHaan plays Harry Osborn, and I thought he was really good. And this guy, man, he's been in movies for basically 2 years. He did TV work, and then suddenly it was like Lawless, Place Beyond the Pines, and Chronicle. And after that, it's just, he's in like so many movies now. This guy, he looks like young Leo DiCaprio, so he's going somewhere obviously, but I'm excited to see him in more Spider-Man movies. It's James Franco. His career kind of started out in Spider-Man, so I think that says something. If you're Harry Osborn of Spider-Man franchise, you're going places. The story in this movie, it actually is, it's wrapping up the crap from the first movie, the untold story. That's actually, we're getting answers now finally, which I was happy about. So there's that, and then Spider-Man's got villains to punch in the face. So overall, story, it's disappointing because it is pretty much cleaning up after the first movie. Like, you made a mess and now we gotta clean up after you and make our own movie. No wonder they have to go off and make Sinister 6 and then Spider-Man 3 and 4. They have so much story to tell that they couldn't get to quick enough because the first movie just left so much for them to answer. And to top it off, I mean, Uncle Ben's killer is still out there. They still haven't picked up that, so I don't know, Spider-Man 8, they'll get to that maybe. That's I'd like these movies to start answering their questions and having plots just do in one movie. Don't have it go over the course of 3 movies. Can we just have a standalone story going on, please? And one last problem I have with the movie is the marketing of this movie is ruining it. Sony, get your shit together. First off, there's a billion trailers. There's just way too many trailers, and they were too long. They gave away too much. I don't like that. Secondly, there's, again, either they cut stuff out, and then there's also a case of them putting stuff just for the trailer to get you excited. Because I know Shailene Woodley was Mary Jane. They cut her out because they wanted Peter and Gwen Stacy's story to go along better, and they felt like Mary Jane was kind of detracting from that. Okay, whatever. It's still, that kind of messes with the pacing of the movie, and you can kind of tell. And they cut out a couple other things. I mean, just one little thing where Harry's talking to Peter. He's like, you know, Oscorp had you under surveillance. He's like, why? He's like, isn't that the question of the day? Like, that's a good line. I wanted to see that in the movie, and that wasn't there. But there's stuff also in the trailer that makes no sense in context with the movie. Just stop with the terrible marketing. And the music, Hans Zimmer, okay? Inception and the Dark Knight trilogy. We know this guy can do fantastic music, and here I was a little let down, but at the same time I thought there was a lot of really good work he did too. Like the main Spider-Man theme or whatever, I really dig that. Some of the music though is kind of meh. And Electro is kind of where I mostly feel not sure how I feel about it yet, because I like it and don't like it at the same time. Because it feels like every action scene, Electro is almost controlling the music, and I get it, he controls electricity, and the music kind of goes along with all his action stuff. Kind of weird. It's like Skrillex the villain, a little bit. But the thing about the music that bothers me, it's not that, it's that while it's going on, there's little whispering and talking in his head, because they brought in Pharrell, the guy that's known for the Despicable Me 2 song Happy, and he's basically whispering like little words that would be like the words in Electro's head. So you get he's crazy. So he hears voices in his head. It's a little distracting, and to me it just felt a little like, you didn't really need that. But at the same time I like it because in context with the movie, I thought it was pretty cool. So I'm not sure exactly how I feel. I like it and don't, and it's just weird. I'll say it was a good score overall, but a little disappointing. I mean, Hans Zimmer can do better work than this, but overall it was still pretty good. While this isn't a great movie, we got a perfect Spider-Man that I want to go on to new movies to watch. I want to see Sinister 6 and all that because the Spider-Man we have now, his new costume, he's finally really humorous. It's a perfect Spider-Man, so I want to go on to see more of that stuff. I want to see the Spider-Man continue. So I'm excited for the new stuff, and I enjoyed this movie enough. I'd give it a B-. They just managed to make a good enough movie, but man, they really, really could improve some stuff in this. There's too much to talk about, so I'm going to do a spoiler review just to kind of get very in-depth about how I feel about this. But essentially, I'd say, yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's good. It's an okay movie. Definitely check it out if you like Spider-Man, because I think if you like Spider-Man, whether you hate Tobey Maguire and love Andrew Garfield, or hate Andrew Garfield and love Tobey Maguire, check this out, because this is the ultimate Spider-Man performance, I would say. This is my favorite Spider-Man now, so I didn't expect that from this movie, so that is definitely some positive I can take away from it. So comment below, tell me you thought of The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and also what villain do you want to come up soon? Because they've already announced they're doing a Venom movie, so I guess if they're doing Venom, we're gonna eventually get Carnage. Shut up, phone. But I kind of want to see them do Sandman right, because I think in this franchise maybe they could get Sandman right. And in the Sinister Six, who did they announce? It's going to be Green Goblin, Vulture, Doc Ock, Kraven the Hunter, which I don't care about Kraven the Hunter, Mysterio, and the Rhino. So that's going to be the Sinister Six. So yeah, Sandman would be the one that, can we do him cool now? And I was going to say Mysterio, but he's in Sinister Six, so hopefully they do him right, because I really dig Mysterio. So yeah, comment below, what Spider-Man villains do you want to see in a future Spider-Man movie? And thanks for watching, I'll see you guys later when I do my spoiler review for The Amazing Spider-Man 2.